Here with one of the new faces at Cubs camp, Matt Boyd. Matt, welcome. Great to see you. Thanks for doing this. Let's introduce fans to you, and we'll start with, we kind of got an introduction last year. When you were at the Guardians, you made your debut against the Cubs. You won. Cubs lost that game, but just describe what it was like coming back from Tommy John and playing the Cubs.
It was really cool. It was one of those things that was just so it was special. I mean, it was like 420 days since my last start, and everything that you go through, you couple that, because I couldn't even get a big league job at the beginning of last year, and it was clear that we were supposed to not sign and just wait. So we were doing rehab and training in the mornings, and getting to be with my family, so it was really cool. And then you couple that to finally get out and have a good outing. Most importantly, they'll just get back on the field in a big league park. Sometimes it felt so far away, so it was really cool.
420 days. I feel like guys who have Tommy John, they always count because it is a long process coming back. Let's talk about the process, because was I reading that you were pretty much just doing everything, throwing to like high school catchers? Just describe what it is like, this long process.
It was cool. I don't think there was ever a time in my career I had as much ownership over everything as that time. So it was there was challenges, but I mean, I was very fortunate to have a solid group of people around me, guiding my rehab, guiding training, and I mean, God bless Ashley, my wife, and we got so much time together, with our 4 kids, but she also was probably a part-time psychologist in that. So,
I totally get that.
it was a lot, but it was great.
It's one of the silver linings, right, when you're going through something like that. All right, so then when we look on the field and how your arm was affecting you even before the surgery, because I was looking at your pitch mix, and when we go back, four-seamer is always one of your more frequently used picks, the most frequently used. And then before the surgery, and we were talking about this, and you can elaborate, it was slider change. But then really last year you got back to change slider, and that order is because I love if you can describe for me, we forget with pitchers the ability to repeat the motion and how important that is, and why we're seeing this change in your arsenal.
I think the big thing is in 2021, I was still in the baseball better, and it's one of those high points in my career, and then I got hurt, and it was in that time of the rehab process that you're like, okay, when I'm healthy, I know what I'm gonna do. I know what I can see myself doing. I know what will have success. I believe I know what will have success. No one ever really knows, right? There was confidence in it. And, in 22, I got back in short stints with the Mariners out of the pen, just trying to, help with the playoff run. In 23, I was good, but I wasn't able to repeat my delivery like I wanted to. And eventually it showed that there was, something more going on, and I needed Tommy John surgery. So it was like I knew who I wanted to be at that time, but there was a physical limitation in the way. And you do your best to just go out and compete and give it everything you got with what you have that day. But the best part was the relief after, surgery and coming back healthy. It was like, okay, cool. Like, I know who I want to be. I know who I want to be. I've been thinking about this for a very long time. So you go out there. Exactly. Very long time. And you go out and you just pitch, right? And it's like, as a starting pitcher, we're never going to have our best stuff on any given day. But the beauty of being, a 4 or 5 pitch pitcher is you can still control a game with what you have. So that was cool.
We're going to go through your pitch grips. Before we do that, I'm just curious, because when you talk about your motion feeling good, what does that look like or feel like? Because we can focus a lot today with the metrics on the grips, because from that we see spin or whatever it is, drop. But your motion, what is feeling good in your body when you feel like you're repeating it?
It's for me, it's being able to stay through the baseball. Kind of a weird word is leverage it to home plate. Like it's like I'm not just trying to I'm using my body to throw the ball. The arm is just kind of along for the ride.
So the bottom half, it sounds like,
exactly. It's everything. It's like your whole body is just essentially a catapult trying to deliver the ball, right? So, what looks good, what feels good to me, and what doesn't feel good to me to the naked eye probably looks exactly the same. But it's those slight things that, like, it's we get to do it many times a day, right? So you're always striving for perfection, even though trying to obtain that may be near impossible sometimes. So, but the thing is, as a pitcher too, one thing that you learn is that doesn't matter how you feel. Even on your worst day, you're still good enough to get a hitter out. You can still change speeds. You can still move the ball around. So, like, there's more than one way to get a guy out, and that's kind of the art behind pitching.
And I feel like that's kind of what makes you a pro at the end of the day, right? That confidence, no matter what the day is looking like, that you can get those outs. So show us then. All right, keeping in mind it's about the bottom half, and you're just kind of letting the ball
That's everything.
then fly.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
But then the grip. So let's start with the four-seamer and what that looks like.
So I'm one of those guys that tucks my thumb.
Okay.
And for me, I'm a guy that my stuff plays really. I throw the ball at a unique angle. I've got a lower arm slot. So when I just think about staying through my four seam, I hold it like this, but the point is, like, I'm trying to throw that thing and stay through it so that it takes off. And what makes like, if you think of all the lefties we have, right? We all have different kind of release points and different shapes on our pitches. I've got a lower release and the ball will do that, like whereas Steely's got a little higher release and that thing cuts. So mine actually takes off arm side as a four seam. It's got that arm side action, but it enters the zone really flat.
Okay, and so then we'll partner that with, we'll go with the change, because that's probably going to be another pitch that we see a lot of.
I throw a two seam change. I try to just stay right through it. And when I don't try to, manipulate it anyway. If anything, I almost just think of it just like a fastball and even come through it that way. And my goal for that is to make it just get depth.
Okay.
And I just allow how the ball is held in my hand. The grip and the thought process tries to be as much like a fastball as it can, but how the ball is held in my hand is really what's allowing it to get kind of sucked down and just have depth. So pairing that with my fastball, it's like I have a pitch that goes down and a pitch that enters up. So it's like you can't cover both at the same time.
Right, and that's what makes hitters choose.
Exactly.
And when you talk about your grip for the changeup, because there can be different ones now. We've got the circle change. Some guys just really try to get a feeling in the back of their, shove it in their hand. Yeah. What got you to land on this grip that works?
Yeah, so when I was with the Giants, I was around some really cool baseball minds, and JP Martinez and Bannister and Andrew Bailey. They were teaching me the seam shifted wake changeup. I was always the guy that pronated it, but I think it's honestly what really got me hurt when I started doing that.
Interesting.
It's something I tinkered a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get better. But
makes sense.
Now they kind of taught me. They kicked the grip in my hand a little bit and made me think thought process wise. If I could stay through it this way, and when I'm coming through on that changeup, if I can keep this part of the ball right here kind of rotating with smooth air, always kind of coming above it, and a seam getting replaced on the bottom, it's going to get a little more drag on the bottom and have, it's that smooth part of the ball is going to not as much drag, and where the drag is going to pull the ball in that direction, whichever way.
And I'm
a speech comm major. I'm trying to talk physics, and it's not very good.
No, it's fantastic.
I got a bachelor of
science. I think it's all coming together right here.
So
did it simplify it for you almost because
it did.
Also deception-wise because you're not.
I think the biggest thing is
pronating?
that I'm trying to keep a pitch wrist position very similar to another pitch.
Yeah.
So that's the thought process behind it. It's like, hey, I don't really need to think how to manipulate something different and all that. I just kind of let it rip and it goes. Yeah.
All right, slider.
Slider, yeah. Another pitch that is kind of a pitch I believe I can throw in any count. I go up the horseshoe. I try to keep it on my fingers. And as with pretty much fastball, changeup, and the slider, I really try to think loose wristed.
Okay.
And just I try to think loose on everything.
Okay.
I can't really muscle the ball to the plate. That's when metrics and stuff change. So I try to think there, and it's a slower slider. It's in that low 80 range, but it's got depth and left and right movement. So commanding it to the outside of the plate to a righty, commanding it, trying to throw it through the bottom of the zone to a righty as well, and obviously everything's working away from a lefty. Because
you brought up the looseness with the slider, is there a key or something that you tell yourself, or a way that it feels like when it's going right that you just know maybe you're going to have a good day?
Staying behind it. It's like staying behind the fastball, staying behind the changeup.
People hear that a lot when you say staying behind it. How
for me, it's like I think about almost throwing the butt of my wrist, like right here, and it's like coming through, and it's like getting that last snap. So it's like, and
it is a snap. You feel like
it is. It's like just kind of delivering the hand as late as I can. It's almost like if I try to throw it hard with my shoulder, I don't hear my hand go. But if I can just try to be loose and just let that thing go, it's like I can hear my hand move through the air. And that's kind of a cue for me. As silly as it sounds, that's always just kind of helped me to think like, you'll see me in catch play sometimes.
I was just going to say, it sounds like the way you play catch.
Yeah, and I hold the ball so loose once in a while when I'm just getting started, I'll even drop it in my back, swing. And that's always kind of been the cue, because when I used to hold it tight and, it would mess with things.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
The other two, I was just going to say, take us through the other two pitches. Yeah. You want to get to the curve. Let's get to the curve.
I can't forget it. It's the fourth pitch, but it's a pitch I started using more last year. I go up the horseshoe, I choke it off a little bit, and I just think about coming through and getting that thing at the very end. It's got a lot more depth than the other pitches, and it's much slower. So it's playing the front to back game that's slower, but also it's got depth with, that works with
change.
Exactly right. You can play when pitching, right? You pitch in and out and up and down, but you also got to play front to back with speeds. So if you kind of can think about all those dimensions when you're attacking a hitter, you should always have an option.
Especially with the evolution of the curveball, because this was a pitch that for a while was I'm talking now to younger fans, right? They're growing up and they want to be a pitcher. What can you recommend when it comes to the curveball, and maybe even how to think about it? Yeah. I don't know what you think when you started throwing it.
I would say don't throw it.
Okay, well, there we go. So
I would say throw a changeup. Yeah, exactly. No, throw it when you turn 15, 16 like my dad did.
But that's what you hear a lot of.
My dad was I had some awesome pitching coaches along the way, Dave Wainhouse, Mark Potashnik, but my dad was the one who was always the guy for me, and he made me command a changeup before anything else. I wasn't allowed to throw a breaking ball until high school. So I knew how to throw it. I wasn't allowed to throw it. Doesn't mean I didn't do it in the backyard with my buddies and whatnot. Yeah, exactly. That was my rebellious way, I guess. But it was the change. Because of that, now my changeup is a pitch that I can easily rely on. It doesn't look as cool, but it works well.
Yeah, you like that, and that's just what works for you. But so then what's a thought process? Because it is in your arsenal. When you're throwing it, I like how you have the cue for the slider. Yeah. Is there something that you have for the curve, or because you don't throw it as much, it's not something that you think about as much?
For me, it's making it come over this finger. And whether it actually does that, no. But the goal is that grip is, I'm trying to deliver my arm fast. The grip and how I'm releasing that is really what's going to make the ball slower and make it move. So keep everything the same, and at the very end, let that thing go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to give us your last grip?
Two-seam, yeah. And that's a pitch. I use it into lefties, and I use it off the front shoulder to a righty, and I'm just staying right through it. I'm not looking for crazy movement. It's not Jake Arrieta's power sinker or anything like that. It's different than my four-seam, and that's the purpose of it. My four-seam does this with rise. My two-seam is supposed when it's in the same, it should enter the zone at the same angle, but it's just going to move left and right. And if I can take a guy off the barrel of the bat, that's a win for me.
And it sounds like with how often you throw it and what you just described, it's really just to give that different look, to keep guys guessing so they can't sit four-seamer or change it, whatever it is.
One pitch is here, that one's just going to be right there.
And do you find often, are you aware of a hitter's approach? Because you hear hitters a lot, I'm going to sit four-seamer because you want to sit the fat. How do you look at their swings?
We got no microphones, you know what I mean? But what I will do is I try to look at their swings, and I try to understand what they're trying to do with the baseball. You have an idea what a hitter wants.
Yes.
So sure. If I'm facing one hitter that really wants the ball in a certain spot, and I know that that's where he does damage, or that's where he does this, I'm going to try to do something because I have enough weapons to make him do something contrary to that. And then when I can see that he's making an adjustment, that's my move to make another adjustment. So it's part of it's a chess match, part of it is pitch to pitch, sometimes it's at bat to at bat, sometimes it's game to game when you face another because that's just the way the at bats play out. So it's kind of the art behind it,
and that's where it sounds like simplify, because there could be so much going on in your head, and yet you just have to focus on what you have to do through all of that.
Without a doubt. Some guys got amazing stuff. They can go out there and just outstuff you with a pitch.
Yeah.
I think it's for me, I'm at a point where it's I understand what makes me me. So you double down on that, and then you go out and you pitch.
Well, that right there is part of your arsenal, honestly, when you pitch, right? Just knowing that. What'd you say your major was?
Speech communication.
Future in broadcast. Great job. Thank you for showing us your pitches, your grips, all that. Great talking to you.
Of course, likewise. Thank you.